It's the end of the quarter and also the semi-annual close as well. The 6-month, the first half of the year is nearly over with less than 24 hours left in the trading month to go. And several important things can be spoken about today on the very, very high term timeframes. Yes, we go over the lower term timeframes as well, very, very briefly, but the focus is, of course, on the higher term timeframes. Why is that? Well, because we need to essentially answer a bit of a market fundamental question right here. Why is the end of the quarter important? It is because the big money managers, people who actually move the market, not the fucking market makers for the love of God, but the actual money managers, big hedge funds, you know, managing billions and billions and billions, maybe even trillions in some cases, are going to be making their major decisions for the next quarter. And it typically happens, you know, around this time as a new quarter opens, new money comes into the market, if it's a bull market. And the game plan is typically this for big money managers: sell your losers, buy your winners. And for, you know, in a bear market, obviously just sell it all, just get rid of it all. But my point is in this video is that today is a very, very important one. And we're going to be referencing the higher term time frames to kind of get clues as to what this means for Bitcoin specifically. Anyways, before we get into it, before I start to stumble on my words anymore, I do want to once again let you know that you can still get the Jewel Light for free for the first 30 days if you follow the directions in the link in the description below. And then also there's an affiliate link to the Apex Decentralized Exchange, which you may or may not find some value in because it's decentralized, but it will also award you 5% off of your trading fees for the lifetime of your account. All right, sweet. That's enough of that. Let's just get right into it, starting off with the quarterly chart right here. Again, 18 hours, 58 minutes, and 13 seconds left to go in the quarter, as well as the as well as the semi-annual. And what is at stake right now? Well, hidden bullish evidence still in play, as we do see that the current quarter is going to be seemingly closing above the prior quarter high, which is a good sign. Prior quarter high is 29,200-ish region. Current trading price for Bitcoin is just under 31,000 bucks. So looking good right there, actually. Moving on into the 6-month time frame, we've been speaking about this a lot as of recent, and it is this: the 6-month does have potential hidden bullish evidence, which will be confirmed on any sort of a closure really above, you know, 25,000 bucks, you know, by the end of the by the end of the period right here. And again, you know, these two things kind of playing hand in hand with each other would essentially be suggesting that on the lower end, Bitcoin probably makes a run somewhere around 36,000, 35,000 bucks, you know, within the next 6 months to a year and a half. And on the higher end, you know, might even retest this major breakdown over here that we did see coming off of basically the beginning of 2022, which would put Bitcoin in the mid to deep $40,000 territory, again, in that same sort of time frame spread. So that's essentially still at stake right here. Again, just waiting for full-on confirmation, as that does more or less look good. And without need to get my damn notes over here. Yeah, there we go. And now I'd like to get in some a little bit more tangible on a slightly lower term time frame. Let's actually go down to the weekly 4 CME. Weekly 4 CME is going to have a chance to close on new weekly highs for the, just new weekly highs for the whole year here. And of course, I do want to highlight the gap coming in from CME on May 2022. That would be at around that $35,000 to $36,000 region. Basically, this major breakdown over here, you know, an area of interest nonetheless going forwards. Of course, that is also in combination with the silver cross that has been confirmed, as we spoke about yesterday, right here. That's the yellow 21 and the green 55 exponential moving average, moving into a bullish posturing for the first time since back on over here, April 2020, where Bitcoin was working its way out of the old Rona dump and then went on a fucking moonshot, actually. I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to happen over here. We have seen these sort of things, I would say, kind of fail before, despite having, you know, like a nearly 30% move. But in this case over here, you know, just another good setup, essentially. And, you know, that is going to be available as long as Bitcoin's especially above 27,000 bucks. But for right now, you know, this is really the Bullish chance to kind of push it here. As we do kind of, you know, accelerate into the end of the month. Also, a particular interest for the end of the month, which CME, again, is going to be closing tonight. So it closes, well, they all close at, you know, tonight, but it's also going to be closing the weekly as well. But as far as monthly goes, there is potential for a major, massive, bullish engulfing dildo right in front of our very faces as of right now, which will be confirmed with any sort of a closure above 29,900 on CME. Would even take out the prior high from April, actually, at 31,200. CME trading about 400 bucks above that pivot as of right now. You know, if those, you know, if that essentially happens, I'd be looking at this as a bullish engulfing dildo at the edge of a major range high. very likely does lead into continuation. In this case, I'd be looking towards deeper $30,000 area. Anyways, moving on now into something that I think is at least my favorite thing as far as this goes. This would be a 5-day. Sorry, not, yes, it is 5-day volatility versus stochastic momentum setup. This one we identified in the last couple weeks here as being relevant, and in the past couple periods, it is now officially fired off. In this case, we do see that 5-day BBWP representing volatility, aka the dispersion of returns, got down towards these extreme lows, which are defined as 15th percentile or lower. It is now officially expanding above those extreme lows. Yeah, we'd like to see the moving average move above it as well, that 50th percentile marker, I should say. But when we have seen that sort of expansion phase initiated from that low of a level, that has led to an average move of, about low 40% actually, over the course of about 37 days on average. Yeah, there's some variance within this with the standard deviation of 7. So on the lower end, we could look at a first standard deviation range between mid 30s. And on the upper end, we could be looking at, almost 50% right there. And of course, the direction of the stochastic oscillator has been correcting, getting the direction of the volatility expansion. Actually did not bring up my thing over here, but if we were just looking at the long setup for this particular one, it's actually been 100% for the history of this, of this asset thus far. Now, that is not always going to be true for the full history. I'll just bring it up over here. If we actually look at the short side, it is about 80%, 8 out of the past, or not past 10, but out of the full 10 setups did play out. In this case, the long setups, 11 out of 11 have actually played out in the direction of the stochastic oscillator, which I thought was rather interesting. Again, don't expect that to always be holding true in that particular instance. If we're only looking at the long setups as well, the average time taken was about 33 days, standard deviation of 10. So, on the lower end, about 3 weeks, on the upper end, about a month and a half. Average return about 43%, standard deviation of 10 right there. Again, specifically for the long side, which this one would be, as the 5-day stochastic oscillator, as we identified over here, bounced off of the trendline regression that was marked off from June 2022 lows, connected with October, connected with December, and then looks like we see another one right here on June of 2023, and we'll be remaining with upside posturing, meaning that this setup is still viable as long as Bitcoin's closed above 26,200. Which just closed last night, I should also add. So kind of playing around with the numbers here, on the lower end, 35%, where would that put Bitcoin? I'll put Bitcoin at about 34.5, 35,000 bucks, kind of in alignment with that major CME gap. If we go for the average or closer to the average, let's say, that'd be in the low 40s. That would put Bitcoin, more in alignment with that gap at about 36,000 bucks. On the upper end, 50%, where does that put Bitcoin? About 38,000 bucks as well. So, I'd probably be looking at those as areas of interest. Longer term doesn't mean that things can't continue from there, obviously. And again, these are, averages that we're looking at, but can kind of give a bit of a guide as to, what's relevant essentially. And again, I just want to bring up a topic that I brought up, I think it was like last week, at the end of last week, where, we just saw about 9 weeks of Bitcoin going into a consolidation, starting in April, right? Early April, this was, where it traded sideways and down, nice little consolidation. And then we saw about 1 week of just straight up. And it's, just kind of asking yourself the question, when things consolidate for that long, when volatility compresses for that long, when we see extreme lows on volatility like this, is that move likely to be done with just, 1 or 2 green dildos to the upside? I would say unlikely. More likely to see this, more likely to see it get overall continuation over a little bit longer of a period of time. Again, on average, looking at about a month, and that one fired off officially, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Yes, something like that. Is what I'd be saying right there. So, does this setup take us out through July? Perhaps yes. Again, overall, favoring the boo laws right there. Let's now go into the lower term time frames. Let's check out the HPDR indicator. We can see a nice big wick above the current 4-hour range highs. That would be kind of like the area of interest that I'd be looking at as of right now at 31,000 bucks, or just above 31,000 bucks for the lower term time frames to kind of confirm above and initiate the next leg again relative to the lower term time frames. Thus far, actually pretty nasty rejection right there, to be fair. So, perhaps this all just, busts up and we see we see it all fail. We see it all fail before end of day here, before this critical closure. But again, you know, if Bitcoin can start to close above that region, about 31,000 bucks, a little bit above there to be fair, about 31.1, let's say, to be safe. At that point, you know, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to march its way up somewhere close to 32,000, maybe a little bit above 32,000 bucks. By the same token, average of the range coming in about 30,200, and low side of the range still 29,500. So referencing stochastic momentum over here, let's just see what we got. Starting off with the very, very low term timeframes. Hourly is going to be showing upside, actually, fresh upside, I should say, as long as Bitcoin is closing above 30,000, basically 31,000 bucks, which again, CME has about almost a $400 premium over spot price action. So it's trading at 31.4 right now. 4-hour time frame is going to be showing upside as well above 31,200. 6-hour time frame is going to be showing upside above 30,400. 12-hour time frame is going to be fresh up, and now it is kind of in a precarious place right here, to be fair, above 31,300. But you know, could it be that next sort of push for one more move in the more near term for this rally? You know, if we see it continue to close above this pivot, yeah, I would say that starts to look a little bit, you know, quite likely. Daily time frame continues with upside momentum above 31,150. 2-day time frame vertical above 27,250 is getting in the critical zone here. So, you know, what is this kind of saying? It's saying that if we're going to see continuation, probably happens in the more near term. I'd say sometime between now and Monday, Tuesday region, and on the, you know, and well, hopefully sooner rather than later for the BULAs. If you don't see continuation by then we're going to see all these things kind of start to turn back down around again. And at that point, have to be looking for a correction in the more near term. Weekly time frame also going to be continuing with upside momentum. Again, closing today for CME, assuming that Bitcoin closed above 29,150, currently trading about 2,000 bucks above that, a little bit more than 2,000 bucks. So yeah, I figure that's a good place. Yeah, I figure that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. Tomorrow should be another interesting one as well, as we'll have all of this, you know, all of the situation likely clarified. Hopefully a lot of new things to be speaking about as well. And then we'll pick it up from there. So I think that's going to do it for today. As always, wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Saturday.